Movies on video cassette.
Welcome to Strange Glow Video.
Guys, I'm eating junk and watching rubbish.
We're oozing with VHS, horror, nostalgia, and more.
New Better Block Glow in the Dark.
After it drops some videotape, you can get a glow-in-the-dark hand puppet from the movie Casper.
And now, your hosts, Alec, Justin, and Nick.
Hey, you're not allowed to rent here anymore. Yeah!
Hey, welcome back to Strange Glow Video. My name is Justin. With me is my esteemed colleague, co-host extraordinaire, all-around wild child, Alec. How's it going?
I feel like this mic is moving towards my face slowly. But it's going good. It's I'm alive, I guess. How are you? Originally.
Doing all right. Where am I from originally? Planet Earth. So, tonight we're going to talk about the Twisters movie trailer. Pretty excited about that. You may or may not know we are huge fans of the original movie Twisters. We actually celebrated the 25th anniversary of the original Twister in Waukeeta, Oklahoma. Behind me, if you're watching on our YouTube, you may see some signed Laserdisc, and I think Alec is showing off his signed VHS.
Yeah, it's only occurs to me that YouTube is not going to show the squares there, or at least the edited video isn't. So there you go. I have to talk for it to make you see this, but
Yes, indeed. So we saw the Twisters trailer too. This movie comes out in the middle of July, so we are fastly approaching its release date.
Yes. This trailer gives us a little more than the first one into the plot and stuff. Makes things obvious if you are like us and can see what's happening, and especially are obsessed with the first movie. So other people like maybe haven't seen that movie in 10 years. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are casual movie fans who actually really like it, so they've rewatched it a bunch still. Just don't know if they're as nerdy about it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we were talking the Twister count in the original Twister before we started recording, and what did we come up with? 8?
Yes. Yeah, so let's go over it again while we're
let's
here.
break it down.
Number 1, Twister at the beginning, the F5 that kills Joe's father.
Yep.
And that almost kills their poor dog. Sorry, boogers. Yep, there goes. Number 2, the tornado that they originally first chased that destroys Joe's truck.
Yep, the yellow Jeep truck. Yep.
Number 3 and 4, the twins.
Yep, over the river or
Yep.
over the lake that we've been to that lake. That's awesome.
Now I can't recall the exact order. I guess it would be the one on the hill next, because that's where he says to her,
Look at what you got right in front of you.
Christ,
Gee,
Joe. Is that what you think it did?
yeah.
I love it. We've been there too. Twister Hill. Twister Hill is in that's up in Iowa, near north of Des Moines.
Yeah, so that's number 5. Number 6 would be the drive-in. Number 7 would be, I guess, off-screen, the tornado that gets Aunt Meg's place.
Yeah.
Number 8 would be the
F5.
finale tornado, the F5.
Thunder of God. Have any of you ever seen one?
Only one of us.
Yeah. Yep. So there's 8 in that first movie. So that's a pretty good count of Twisters, right? And that movie takes place over what? A 48-hour period, 24 hours, somewhere around that. I mean, it's nonstop, start to go.
One day. I'll give you one day. But yeah, it's a little more than a day. It's clearly I think it's a full 24-hour period, and then
Almost
I guess
to the
that
next
makes
night,
sense,
yeah.
because it's the next morning when the movie ends. I don't think there's a full night. There is one full night, I think, because the movie is mostly day until they go and they try to stay at that hotel
At the drive-in, yeah. And then
the drive-in.
Waukeeta gets hit, and then after that, they're up all night chasing the next storm. So yeah, it's approximately 24 hours.
Yeah, that checks out.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. So this movie, obviously, we've already got some context clues. Takes place over a full week. She kind of gives that. I'll give you one day, I'll give you a week, right? Okay,
I'll give you 1 week.
So we're already seeing a fair amount of callbacks there, which some of this stuff could get cut out of the trailer. Happens all the time.
That's fine if it's like that, I think, because that's less noticeable, at least to the common people.
Oh, for sure.
To those of us who have seen this movie more times than our mother's face,
I mean, I watch this movie several times a year on average, so
Yeah.
usually 2 or
I've
3
watched
times.
it 3 times since we started the podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Since-
this specific one. I don't mean, the beginning.
Yeah, since the beginning, I was like, shit, I think we watched it 3 times when we were in Makita last time.
Yeah, for sure.
We watched it every night, I think.
I've been
Sickos.
watching it off screen on my phone here the whole time.
Yeah,
no,
so
I'm excited about the cast of this. Glenn Powell is interesting. He's obviously gonna steal the show here.
yeah,
Hopefully, he's an interesting enough character that it is that I like it. I liked him
So-
in Top Gun Maverick. He's charismatic. He's interesting. He looks like the fucking stereotypical like handsome man. So
he is, and he seems to be. So we've had like all the Chris's that were doing like everything for like the past decade. So he's kind of a new name that's kind of taking some of those roles I felt would have gone to those guys.
yeah, could be. I mean, we get Chris Hemsworth and Furiosa next week, and I think that's going to be fucking awesome.
Oh,
I think
guaranteed.
Chris Hemsworth's pretty awesome, so it's going to be interesting to see him in that.
No, so yeah, Glenn Powell I think looks great in this. I mean, he's gonna. The trailer sells me on him, like right. He's just kind of the wild cowboy guy that does this shit for thrills.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's got some serious ties to it as well, right? I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see him get vulnerable with. Was that Daisy? What's her last name?
Daisy Edgar Jones, is that it?
Edgar Jones. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So with Daisy's character, and I haven't looked them up on IMDb. I know you mentioned you saw Daisy's character name on there.
Yeah, it's Kate Cooper.
So context clues would say that this, there's so much debate in the press because they've never really flat out said what it was. They're calling it Twisters, implying it's a sequel.
Right. Well, you notice that she's wearing a uniform that's almost identical to Joe's too at one point.
Yeah.
Now, did you notice that in the trailer?
Mm-hmm.
I'm rewatching it now on mute.
Yeah. So she's watching that. We obviously see a Dorothy in there. And I didn't catch the number on it very well. I didn't like freeze frame it or anything.
Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch the number on that locomotive? No. So we see the Dorothy in there, and we see the sensors fly up like in a scene. Like they show us that legit. And
It's
okay.
interesting. I bet we might even see Wakita again in this. It's possible because it is centered around OKC again.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like had they shot in Wakita again,
We would probably know it, I guess. That's true.
we
yeah.
would have heard about it, at least through the Twister Museum. Like I still follow their Facebook page. But I am excited to have more locations to go see down there. Like they shot it all pretty close to where our dad lives. So there's going to be some spots down there and my buddy Mark lives down in Oklahoma as well, near there. So definitely going to be checking out the new movie sites next time I'm down that way.
Yeah.
So
So it also seems like Kate is the character that is way more corporate sponsory, and he's the way more like almost like a internet celebrity type, like just
Mhm.
wild motherfucker.
yeah, I mean, you see him shooting fucking fireworks into a tornado. So like to me, he's very gimmicky, very cliche. I mean, she even makes fun of him for selling T-shirts of himself.
Not my forced tornado.
Yeah. Pretty cheesy, but awesome. I mean, it's this kind of shit you see people do. I mean, it's true to life. I'll tell you that.
I mean, I want that shirt.
Yeah, if I don't, we'll probably have one up on our T Public soon. I'm gonna remake that design. So
Yeah, it seems interesting there. The effects look pretty good, I would say. And the original movie's effects still hold up. Like, there's nothing I'm ever like, ooh, this looks really bad. There might be a few moments where you're like, but I don't ever really notice it.
yeah,
Given the last few times I've watched it, I've probably watched the VHS, so that doesn't help. But I mean, actually, it does help. But
now the only thing in the trailer, and again, this is a trailer, so it's not finished product necessarily, right? Lots of times VFX go until the final minute. Some of the sensors flying out of the Dorothy looked a little not fully rendered, right? They didn't have the final polish on them. Trailer, don't care. It still looks great. All the tornadoes look good. All the stuff that's going to be practically shot in camera, like a lot of the car stunts and things like that, you're going to see that combination of in camera and then enhanced with CGI. So I'm great with that. I think it looks great. Very
The only
excited
thing I
for that.
think we're missing is more characters that are like done by character actors, I guess you'd say. I think YHS pointed that out, like character actors that are in the first movie that you have just a bunch of crew. Like in this one, it seems like there's those two, and then there's like one or two other people in that trailer. There's clearly that other guy who's like yelling and who's with her, but
Yeah. So what it sets up and what I interpret this as is it looks like she has a bad case with the Dorothy early on, in a flashback scene or whatever that is, where somebody in her crew dies, maybe her husband or something, right? We still don't know if this is a proper sequel and has any character lineage or not. So a last name on IMDb may or may not mean anything. I don't want to overthink it, but I'm just saying it's still a possibility she's related to characters from the first. Doesn't have to be. She could just be at the same research lab at the same Oklahoma. What is it? OKU.
I hope she's Jonas's daughter.
Fuck yeah, that'd be amazing.
And it's like, fuck tornadoes, man. They killed my father.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fuck them up.
there was a few interesting things in this trailer that I thought were pretty attention grabbing, right? The fact that they're going to like drill into the ground to anchor their vehicle, I thought was pretty fucking cool, right? I thought that was kind of a neat concept. And I think that's based on like real technology that some of the storm chasers do.
I was gonna say that is based on reality, and they did it in the movie Into the Storm already.
Yep.
Check that out. It is a big part of that movie because they have a vehicle that's like made of stainless steel and has the fancy windows and has like they film out of and driving around. It's interesting. It's based on a real guy who does it for the Weather Channel has a show about it. There's some people on there.
Yeah. So this trailer, we get the Dorothy glimpse in there. We get the kind of a cowboy character. I think it's I'm glad it doesn't feel plot for plot remake, right? Because they could easily could have gone down that route, right? Obviously, we think there's going to be a love story in here. These two characters have some sort of charisma, some tension their way they've kind of shown them in the trailer. I figure that'll kind of wind up being a thing. Which they're not people divorcing or anything. It looks like they're meeting each other for the first time. So that is a fresh concept on maintaining a love story into the movie, right? A love interest, right?
It'd be great if, like at the end of Twister, it's like the end of Twister where they're they're in a shed or something, but they're fucking, and then they get sucked up and they're naked, and then he's like, "Look, the tornado's sucking my dick," and then he comes into it. Sorry, this is very vulgar, but I'm just thinking of hilarious things.
Yeah, I think that's
stone,
Yeah, well, it's still disappointing compared to our original thought of ghost twisters haunting people. So
I'd like to be sucked off by a tornado once, see what it's like.
It's the safest orifice. Yeah, I know we're not going to see old characters necessarily in this, right? And if they do,
I thought you were going to say boobs.
No.
But yeah, I definitely agree. We're not going to see even people like what's his face?
Sean Whalen.
Sean Whalen is definitely not going to be in it. He's announced publicly that he was never even contacted about it or anything. So
yeah,
bummer.
Yeah, you would think that like some of those people would have roles back in the lab or the meteorology center just as a form of continuity. Like they don't need to have a huge speaking role. They can just be in there working and like, hey, they've retired from field work. They do lab work now, whatever, or they work for whoever.
Yeah, you're telling me you couldn't get oh fuck, why am I blanking on everybody's name tonight? Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off and like that dude from Lost.
Yeah. No, so I think it's gonna be fresh. Like either way, like this movie could be cheesy, and that's what I want in a summer blockbuster movie about tornadoes, right? I think that's where like did you see Supercell with Ben Affleck?
Nope.
Or not Ben Affleck, but God damn it.
Alec Baldwin's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're confusing those two. That's
Jesus Christ. My brain is fucking broken. I apologize. Eric Baldwin. Yeah, Alec Baldwin in it. And like that movie tries to be so serious the whole time that it's decent, but it doesn't like it's not captivating like Twister is, right?
Right.
Twister just makes you want to chase storms and like want to experience this with.
This is funny because I've seen Into the Storm and you haven't. You've seen that and I haven't, and they're kind of comparable. However,
Yeah.
we've both seen Night of the Twisters, so we have that going for us, and we both read
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I haven't read it since I was a child, but I do want a copy of the book. That'd be fun to do.
I bought a copy of it a couple of years. Well, I bought a copy of it ahead of the Twister anniversary. So
Sick. I have sealed copies of both Night of the Twisters and Twister on VHS, as well as open copies that I watched.
that's
and then the
pretty
signed
awesome.
copy too of Twisters. Never have too many copies of Twister laying around, you know.
Exactly. Now, so I think this is going to be a fun movie, right? I think it's something I really want to see on the at the drive-in on the big screen. Hopefully, with either Twister or
This is like I want
The
to
Shining.
probably. I remember seeing this in theaters, the first one.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely want to see this in IMAX. I think they have to IMAX this, right? Like
I would imagine so. And
this would be one of the best on the biggest possible screen is how I want to go see this. And if IMAX is the option, that's what I want to do.
I want to see this more than once in theaters. I want to see it at the drive-in at least once and on an IMAX at least once, right?
The drive-in's more of the novelty experience for it all for sure. But I think
Yeah.
the first time the theater and then the second time drive-in.
Yeah, for sure. Because the drive-in, I'd rather be at a casual viewing, right? It's just because digital projectors are a lot darker now, or a lot brighter than they can be, or they used to be for a while. So like last couple of movies I've seen at the drive-in, the picture quality's been great.
Yeah, just don't see horror movies at the drive-in.
Nah, they're shot too dark. They're a pain in the ass.
It's a bummer, yeah. Because I saw like The Nun 2, or like the latest one. I don't know, and couldn't even see the movie. I had no idea what was fucking happening. Same with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was doing to make time while the movie played. Ha!
Waka.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'd imagine this.
this.
So they also teased a website on this trailer, and it's for the soundtrack. So they've got pre-orders up right now. So I ordered the online store exclusive clear vinyl, limited to 3,000 copies. Now the sketchy part about that is like I don't listen to much country. Very rarely do I listen to country. Right? And I got a feeling this could be a lot of country. So if you're a huge country fan and I get this and I decide to flip it, somebody might get a good deal on it because, but for me, it's also Twister and Twister merch, and there's not been much of it, right? Historically speaking, even. Like, and I'm going down the toy aisles now and I see all these nostalgia-based toy cars, right? I saw one from The Crow the other day. I've seen stuff from all kinds of random movies, just cars. And I'm like, when the fuck am I going to get a die-cast set of Twister cars?
Well, it's now or never, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, do a line for this. Like, you can make an action line of toy cars for this, right? I'm sure Dodge would love to have their Dodge Caravans and everything there from Jonas's crew.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, I really need some more merch with this movie. Like, I need the tie-in stuff. Like, my Twister collection is basically limited to, multiple copies of the movie. And then the making of book, which half the making of book really is just talking about tornadoes. And they kind of slap Twister on the cover. Kind of it's a good read. Don't get me wrong. But it's just kind of one of those things you're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And then, you kind of get to that and you're like, I see. And then, I got a copy of the script written by Michael Crichton and his wife at the time. And that's drastically different than the shooting script because, like, that's an early draft. So
I have Twister 2, the VHS documentary. And I also have Twister, the Crispin Glover movie.
That's a weird fucking movie, man.
And then Real Twisters, a documentary again.
Mm-hmm.
Any Tornado VHS I buy.
And you should.
Same with sharks and bears and dinosaurs.
So speaking of, we had tornadoes around here the other day, right? And so some of those I was driving out east for work today. and I drove by like an RV reseller.
Out there's an RV.
Uh-huh. And one of them got flipped, I'm assuming by the storm because it hadn't been moved. And it was just like off the lot. And some of them were like falling off into the grass like the wind had knocked them. And some of them were okay. So I'm like, oh man, that was from those winds. Tornado out that way. It was like kind of right in that path where it was. So
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what do you think this movie's going to be good? Like you think it's going to be
See, that's the thing. It really depends on the type of stuff you enjoy and how invested you are in it being a sequel, or if you're just looking for a good time. Like, this is going to add up to probably be like, to me, on the quality level of like Armageddon is the vibe I'm getting from this.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be big in scale. It'll have, it's not going to have the characters. That's obviously not the 90s vibe. That's not what I mean. But in the terms of like a disaster movie, that's how much I'm going to like it. Like, I rewatch Armageddon surprisingly a lot
Okay.
because I like end of the world movies. It's a movie I watched as a kid growing up, and it was iconic to me then. I thought it was awesome then. Now I'm like, holy shit, some of this is terrible, but some of it's super entertaining still.
No, for
That's
sure.
kind of how I feel like this one I might feel about. So
I think this is going to be a fun watch regardless. There's a few things that give me a lot of hope about it, but take that with a grain of salt because we don't know much yet. But the fact that the Dorothys look like beat up and like well loved and well used to me makes me think that we're getting a true, like, obviously it's the same universe, right? So we're going to have some of that in there. So we're going to see some lineage to the original, hopefully some references, but not like Remember Twister all the way through, I think the Dorothy is the technology that you're going to bring in there. So I think to me that enough gets my interest that they're like, okay, that they've successfully know how to deploy those now, right? But obviously they've modded the tech to try to stop a Twister. So
which that whole point seems kind of dumb, but like also based in reality. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, that describing the plot that way sounds dumb as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds dumb when I
Yes.
hear it out loud. Like, but I don't know. People are trying to figure out things like that, and it's interesting. So,
well, and you look at modern technology where that's at. I mean, even for like Twisters, they've talked about that for, they've been theorizing ways to do that for a very long time. I think since the original Twister, but without the data. And like, that's the thing about Michael Crichton and why the first movie was so good is because he does his research on shit. So he bases it in reality. It seems to be that they've done that with this. There's a fair amount of reality-based stuff that they've taken from it to try to make it, a proper sequel that actually fits in the modern time, right?
right.
So I'm excited about that. I do like that, we're going to see some of that old tech come back.
I was going to say, if someone was telling me to write a Twister sequel, what I would personally do is go back and read a bunch of Michael Crichton books.
Yeah. I would go back. Yeah.
I want to see what this guy does and how he thinks. And then I'd read about his techniques and be like, all right, I'm going to try to apply some of that to this best I can. So maybe this person did this, maybe not.
Yeah. If you can carry those vibes over from like basing it in reality enough to make it believable, but also being outlandish enough that it's fun. I think that's
like
that.
Jurassic Park.
Exactly. Prime example of that.
Sphere, is that another one that he did?
He did Sphere, House of the Rising Sun, Andromeda Strain, The Great Train Robbery.
Andromeda Strain is another one I was thinking of, yeah.
So yeah, he's a prolific author before he passed. So I think this is going to be fun, but I don't know if it's going to live up to like the rewatchability of the original.
We'll see. As long as it's better than Independence Day Resurgence, I'll be fine. That was a sequel that just every few years, like 4 years or so, like 3 or 4 years, I'm like, you know what? Maybe that movie wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and I'll give it a rewatch because I'll be forgetting it, and then I'll be like, oh, damn it!
Every time I watch that movie,
there's like 20 or 30 minutes of enjoyable stuff in that movie. 20 or 30 minutes tops.
Jeff Goldblum on screen is about the only shit that I like in there, and even he doesn't feel like his authentic version of his character.
Yeah.
So I hope that this is not the case here. Now, we haven't heard if like Helen Hunt has any kind of cameos in this or not. Like, I'm imagining that would be pretty hush hush, but at the same time, like this is shot in Oklahoma, so I imagine if that was the case, like we would have seen leaks of that, unless she's not in a action sequence or something.
Yeah.
So,
well, let us know in the comments below what you think of the new Twisters trailer. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. And be kind, subscribe.
yeah, thanks for listening and watching.